Welcome back to another semifinals match of GP Florence, and we have Espithel versus Gynoidpoet.
Yeah, so we have Fliers versus Burn, which is a very low to the ground matchup.
Yep.
Maybe the most interesting thing about this matchup is Espithel being on, I believe, 3 main deck arms way, which...
Yeah.
And there's one, then a white source. So, yeah, this is part of the weird thing about splashing for cards that go into Burn, in that you really want them on turn 1 or 2, so you can't really rely on drawing into a white source.
Yeah. I mean, Espithel just bottoms the island here, right?
Is this keepable?
It is, right? Fury Infiltration, Phantasmal, Owl.
Yeah, like normally it'd be decent, but you're also against Burn.
Yeah, maybe top deck a white source or something.
Yeah, maybe that's just a valid line. I imagine Sunrise River is probably better than bottom island, just because the life poly matters a fair bit, and no instants in hand besides the Fey Infiltration, so...
Right. Well, Gynoidpoet, meanwhile, keeps this hand. They don't first mate, though.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Hugo seems a bit clunky in this matchup, where like if Espithel has a Cosmic Synchro, then Hugo looks kind of silly.
Right. Well, Espithel's still thinking about it, I guess. I think they're probably calculating the amount of life they're going to lose off each decision.
Maybe. I mean, there's a fair amount of playing out you can do with this hand. Like just calculating, okay, how fast should I kill with turn 1 Phantasmal Owl?
Right.
Do they need to point burn at my owl? Or can they just kill me before then? Besides bottom the island, which is interesting.
Well, that was the choice I went with. I guess they didn't really analyze how much life they're going to lose off Sunrise River, maybe.
I mean, maybe it's just worthwhile. Definitely there's a lot of draws that could make it very good.
Yeah, or maybe just turn 1 Fairy Infiltration to scry into a white land or something.
Yeah, that can definitely work as well. Well, actually, what you could do is, what might actually be the best line, depending on what is drawn here, is hands in, Phantasmal Owl, and then upkeep Fairy Infiltration.
Right. Well, here's the turn 1 Cult Axlinger for 3. Classic burn start.
And with the Gynoidpoet just seems to have a ideal burn hand, particularly against a deck with no removal, or not much removal. Where this cult will be dealing another 3 points next turn if it's not chumped.
Yeah.
And then 12 points of burn in hand, and that's 18. So, yeah. So you have, provided all of that goes to plan, you only have 1 life to spend on the Sunrise River.
A Locust Sentry. That will slow down Gynoidpoet a bit, I guess. So Espithel does lead with Anzen.
Yeah. It won't slow down Gynoidpoet with a turn 1 Anzen lead, because this Sunrise River will not be casting Tal.
Yeah. So keeping Sunrise River was a mistake after all.
Potentially.
No, they're going to Fairy Infiltration instead.
I think that makes sense here.
Fairy Infiltration to chump? Is that ever good?
Honestly, maybe. Like...
What, you're getting 3 life off 1 mana and you get to scry 2? That's basically what you're getting from it, right?
I mean, in a burn matchup, that's not the worst thing. And I mean, I guess you can also just see what Gynoidpoet does here.
Well, they drew Fire first.
Decent chance that if Gynoidpoet has another creature, it will be played pre-combat.
Right.
So if just 2 burn spells are played out here, then chumping seems like a very good idea. And then the harm's way hopefully clears up the cult.
Well, cult's usually going to be a 3/3, so it's going to be hard to harm's way it.
Yeah, there'd definitely be some maneuvering around cult. Yeah, 3/3 or not, especially if it's Fire Burst off the top.
And Post is straight up going face. They're not going to bother Storm Surging before.
That's without making sure that Gynoidpoet isn't targeting their own Axlinger.
Hey, they might also target their own face.
I mean, those are both valid targets.
Yeah.
In some sense.
Okay, anyways, here's the Fairy Infiltration, right? No way Espithel's taking here.
Yeah, so I think with no other creature, you kind of want to jump here. Because you know that Gynoidpoet's either on Suit of the Sea as another threat, or just mono burn.
Yeah.
And Fairy Infiltration, 1 mana counter burn spells, seems pretty decent.
It's like a Cosmic Synchro that scries too.
Yeah, and that seems pretty good. So if you're putting on Gynoidpoet on 4 burn spells, like what they have here, that conveniently puts you above 12 life.
Take 3. Oh.
Interesting. So they put something on top, starting with Esmere.
Yeah.
So I imagine that that's a white source.
I have to assume that. Otherwise, this play would make no sense. Because then they literally just don't get to play anything next turn with Sunrise River.
The fetch is a mountain, and this is probably Searing Grace.
Yeah.
So an awkward thing here is that these burn spells don't actually trigger cult.
Right.
Quite.
Fireburst does.
Yeah, Fireburst will, though not in the best way, since you'll need to give it a draw.
Crossing the fog.
They top crossing the fog? Interesting.
I mean, it lets them dig for stuff, I guess.
I mean, yeah, it helps them find a white source.
But white source doesn't help here. They need a blue source to play Phantasmal out and block, right? Because Harm's Way doesn't stop Cult.
Okay, so they ignore some misplay, but there's like 4 different things that could be. I don't know if I'd call them all misplays, but they could definitely see it as such.
Well, there's Spell Pierce, but
yeah,
there's Nebula.
Has to be taken here.
So Nebula, Harm's Way, the Fireburst onto the Cult, maybe? Like, that would work.
Yeah, I think it feels like that's what has to happen. Unfortunately,
they still died to burn from hand, right?
Well, the hope would be that you have Gynoidpoet playing burn. Oh, yeah, I guess even with the Harm's Way, they're just still dead, being at 7 after this Nebula. Additionally, the Nebula naming a white makes it pretty obvious that this is a Harm's Way.
Yeah, maybe Gynoidpoet doesn't play around it. You never know. Oh, okay, never mind. Yeah, they just have straight up lethal.
The Cult doesn't even matter.
Yeah. So I guess if Espithel blocked Cult there, would that have changed anything? Because Gynoidpoet still drew a bunch of burn spells.
Well, I mean, Espithel would be at 10. So it would depend on how Gynoidpoet sequences, I think. Because if just like a very simple line of like orchestrate, Fireburst, go all face, then Harm's Way blocks 2 of it, takes 7, go to 3, and then Harm's Way kills the Cult.
Maybe Gynoidpoet's trying to play on Spell Pierce, because if they orchestrate and Fireburst gets countered, then they don't get to actually cast the Storm Surges.
Yeah, well, they do have the knowledge that Espithel doesn't have the mana.
I mean, they do have the mana for Spell Pierce, like Anzen's in play.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I didn't even notice that.
Actually, Cosmic Sinkhole, really. Any counter spell. Wait, if Gynoidpoet's trying to play on counter spells, then double orchestrate would make no sense.
Yeah, well, fortunately for Gynoidpoet, they aren't playing against a counter spell. So if Espithel did have a counter for this Fireburst, well, I guess if they top deck it.
Right.
Because they will get an additional draw here. And the 2 Storm Surges will remain in exile. Cult won't be animated. And then Tau comes down and maybe can prevent some damage.
Yeah, like you tell sorcery, and then now the Storm Surges are really annoying to cast off to orchestrate.
Yeah, so Gynoidpoet's entire deck is 1 mana, so they'll always be able to cast. Oh no, sorry, there's some 3-drops in there with Storm Surge and Saying Grace.
Yeah. So
either of those off the top would not be good enough.
Or a land, but they draw Phantasmal instead, so yeah, that's exactly, and Espithel concedes.
Yeah, so I think jumping there probably doesn't matter, just because you're still relying top decks, even with that, like, the best case scenario with how Harm's Way plays out.
Yeah.
But jumping there does give you potential outs with Gynoidpoet draw nothing.
Yeah.
So Fork Pillar seems good. Metal Munch. Do you actually want Metal Munch here?
Of course. Like, it kills the 1/1s.
It does kill the 1/1s, but I feel like you're just always egg on this matchup. I guess on the draw it's probably very good.
Yeah.
On the play it's probably less good.
So on Espithel's side, they probably want Spell Pierce Tau. Is Justicar Overseer too slow?
I can't imagine it's too... Oh, it's slow, but definitely on the play it's going to be fast enough.
Right, and then what else do I have? We bring in Admonish, Willow Spirit, yeah. They actually do have a lot of good cards to board in against Burn, I guess.
Yeah, Overseer, Spirit. Spell Pierce seems okay, not great. Tau seems similar. If you want to get really spicy, you can use Power Jam to counter
no.
Storm Surge.
No, you're not doing that.
Yeah, probably not. Especially with Gynoidpoet having more than the usual amount of instant speed burn.
Yeah. So game 2 has begun.
So I guess we'll see if Gynoidpoet kept Hugo active, and they did.
Well, it doesn't really tell us much, because that just means they boarded in cards that we wouldn't expect them to board in anyways.
Yeah. I mean, maybe Wakiri Dissonant isn't the craziest thing. Like, nothing blocks it super well on Espithel's side.
Yeah. So Espithel keeps a 1-lander, but they have a bunch of counter spells and Giant Parrots to hopefully draw into lands. Do they just keep up Cosmic Sinkhole on turn 1?
No, I can't imagine.
Okay.
Like, I think this is still very much so a race. So,
oof, not a land.
So honestly, yeah, I think it's really weird. I think with only having 1 land, probably not. But I think he had 2. Maybe you could argue for keeping up Sinkhole just to hit any creatures that come down.
Yeah, like Cult Axelier. If you match a Sinkhole to turn 1 Cult, you're basically gaining 6 life over the course of the game.
Yeah, the awkward thing is that if Gynoidpoet just passes, like just doesn't do anything and passes, then that's kind of awkward. Admittedly, they probably won't do that just because Veil Infiltration would kind of crack that line.
Yeah. Actually, isn't that the same advice that you gave me when I was trying to beat Teamer Tempo with Burn? Like, just pass?
Yeah, Burn definitely has a lot more play than it seems at first glance.
Still no land, huh?
We'll have 2 more draws between the second shouting period and the draw step.
Yeah, but that's probably not a good look for them.
Besides to bottom the Willow Spirit instead of the Powder Scatterer, which is kind of interesting. I can't imagine Powder Scatter is that good in the matchup.
Yeah. Oof, still no lands. They have to play another Shouting Parrot and hope to hit a land, or else they're in really big trouble. Oof. Okay, now they bomb Power Scatter, right? Because they know that they really don't have enough lands right now. Yeah.
Let's see, botting Spell Pierce or a Sinkhole. Just because there's so few. Like, I guess Gynoidpoet could be kind of mana screwed, but it feels like the deck is just so cheap that you're not going to be able to spend all these cost counters. And obviously, with only one land, you can't even keep them up.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess another chump for the Parrot. Maybe they'll finally get a land this time? I mean, like, how many cards have they looked through?
What, 5 or so?
Yeah, that's pretty unfortunate.
Yeah, I think this Pseudo-Sea draw probably makes it especially hard to come back. There's a land.
Well, there you go, but turn too late.
But I think if Gynoidpoet just had Burn here, there's still a pretty solid chance for Espithel to come back. Just because the mana disadvantage isn't super punished.
Yeah. I'd probably go to, I guess, they orchestrate and then play Suitor.
Yeah, getting the Storm Surge out of hand because it's kind of clunky. Makes sense.
So now the Cosmic Sinkholes are a lot worse because Gynoidpoet has more mana to work with. And okay, there we go. There's all the lands. You still play Parrot because you need to do that.
Yeah, so now, okay, that's something, I guess, maybe?
You bought him, they bought him Crossing the Fog.
Okay, I think at this point the game is just kind of over because the entirety of Espithel's hand just doesn't do anything.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at least I think Spell Pierce can probably stop a Storm Surge if they try to orchestrate it or something.
Maybe, but I mean, like that's not even that great of a scenario. I mean, I guess Gynoidpoet is really low in life.
Yeah.
Which might be a potential out. But at the same time, there's just been so many chumps. Like this Banished Companion has eaten 2 parrots already.
Well, I mean, Parrots are card neutral, right? But no, they're not.
Not when you're jumping with them, no. And now, what? So Gynoidpoet has the choice of in the trade.
Well, I mean, they don't want Suitor to hurt them too much, I guess.
I guess that's fair because they have another Suitor coming down.
Yeah. Okay, there's Fairy Infiltration, so that's something they can do end of turn.
Yeah, that's a very good draw. It also gives them a chance to scry into something that can apply some pressure.
Yeah, and then bottom Sinkhole. I think now Gynoidpoet just goes all out. Actually, no, they have 2 Fire Bursts, so Espithel can draw into stuff.
It looks like this is Storm Surge Pseudo-Sea. So this
yeah,
PS will hit a Storm Surge.
I mean, that's fine. Gain 3 life, basically. Oh, never mind then. That Pierce is going to hit a Fire Burst.
Oh, that's a pretty aggressive line. So, what do you counter here if you're Espithel?
Counter the spell? You counter the Fire Burst, because you don't know that Gynoidpoet has more stuff in hand.
I guess that's fair. I'm surprised they didn't try and orchestrate off the Suitor.
Yes, they were playing around Cosmic Sinkhole. Or, no, that wouldn't make sense either. Does Espithel have Soul Pierce or something? No.
Yeah, well, it would play around Spell Pierce, but going Storm Surge Suitor would play around Sinkhole, whereas this line maybe doesn't. So I don't think it'd be... it's probably unreasonable for Espithel to just take 6 and keep up mana for the Veil Infiltration, which ends up working out because Sinkhole hits the Suitor.
Yeah.
I think there's also probably a mistake there to not Veil Infiltration on upkeep.
Right.
Concerning Espithel's entire deck is... basically the entire deck is 2 mana.
So they get to play Tau and I guess name Sorcery, which won't hit Fiery Burst.
Yeah. So after swing, Tau probably trades for the Suitor. Espithel goes to 6. And the Suitor should get on the Companion.
Yeah. They can trade Tau for a Suitor, I guess.
Yeah. And Gynoidpoet would be at 7, which is pretty darn low. I mean, at 7 life, you start to get into lines where you can, like, top deck Harm's Way and just use it as a pseudo shock point base.
Those Ranger Berserker. So that's a good draw for Espithel because they don't have. Actually, no, is it?
It's I think anything that's not a land is probably bad for Espithel.
Okay, but is it worse than the burn spell?
Probably, actually.
Oh, Yeah, good point.
Because it will get an untap here. Actually, yeah, it's guaranteed to get an untap here. So next turn it will also attack. And it's not like Espithel has any ways to answer that.
So yeah, Fairy Infiltration, I guess block. Maybe they strike into something that answers Bloodvenge Berserker, like Harm's Way or something.
I guess Tal trades the Berserker now, and the Infiltration trades with the Suda.
I think they're going to trade with Banished Companion because they don't know that Gynoidpoet has a way to enable Bloodvenge Berserker.
Well, yeah, I guess that's true. Though, if the Gynoidpoet does have a way to trigger the Berserker, it's pretty bad.
I mean, it's basically the same because like 2 damage to Gynoidpoet's face, is that really that big of a difference?
I mean, they're at 7.
Yeah, but do you really want to risk that?
Like, just in terms of like raw cards, it seems like Espithel losing here, or at the very least behind.
Yeah.
And like potentially you can leverage Gynoidpoet's low life total into making Banished Companion not a card.
Right.
Whereas Berserker will always eventually do something, right?
Right. But I'm Crossing the Fog at least.
Yeah, not a great card here.
Well, I don't think you're in a good situation when you have to bottom Crossing the Fog.
Let's trade with the Berserker.
Yeah, okay, so they are going to try to leverage Banished Companion's downside.
So now, does Gynoidpoet play out the Fire Burst? Probably not. I guess they are.
They're going to do it while Espithel's tapped out, I guess.
I'm not sure how I feel about that. It probably doesn't end up mattering.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, so I think that's forced to trade with the Companion.
Oof. Also, they don't have a second white source, so they can't Harm's Way and then Cosmic Sinkhole for 2.
That's true, though it seems unlikely that Cosmic Sinkhole for 2 will matter, considering Gynoidpoet has no 2-drops here.
Good point. Alright, so Call Excellent, but with no way to enable it.
What I imagine we see Harm's Way the Banished Companion to the alt?
But then you have to still deal with Banished Companion.
Yeah, I guess that's true, you go to 2. So yeah, you probably just need to kill the Banished Companion here. Even though Gynoidpoet's at 5 life and Companion's looking a bit sketchy here.
Yeah.
But then again, Espithel doesn't have any way to answer it.
They just need to top deck into another Harm's Way, I think.
There's no world where Harm's Way Banished Companion damage base is correct here, right?
You just die if you do that.
You just take 1.
Yeah, but...
Oh no, yeah, you die to the... Wait, no, all the damage dealt at 1, so you just take 1 off the Axlinger.
Yeah.
So then Gynoidpoet goes to 3.
Oh wait, no, you tap Crumbling Precipice, so Gynoidpoet loses 1 life, and then Banished Companion hits Gynoidpoet in the face for 2. So Accident is enabled right now.
Oh. In that case, Espithel is just dead, right?
Espithel can redirect Harm's Way's Gynoidpoet's face damage to Banished Companion, right?
But you can...
So it's you or permanents you control this turn. Never mind, you can't actually do that. Harm's Way can't redirect Banished Companion's face damage because it only works on damage that hits you, not your opponent.
Yeah, so in that case, Espithel is just dead, right?
Yeah, that's pretty unfortunate.
Yeah, not being able to direct your opponent's damage is kind of annoying. I've definitely used Harm's Way in my own City of Brass a couple times, though.
Espithel just not drawing lands those first 2 turns is really unfortunate. And I think that's basically what led them to this loss.
Yeah, though at the same time, I mean, admittedly they had to bottom quite a few cards, so they probably would have... but they potentially could have held on to a few more impactful cards, like maybe the Powder Scatterer ends up trading the Cult here or something.
Right.
As opposed to having a dead Sinkhole.
Actually, yeah, they probably should have started buying Sinkholes way earlier, because they're not very good when you're only on 2 colors, and except you can't even... Oh, what's Espithel doing now? They're conceding. Okay, good.
Yeah, I don't know if that was winnable. Espithel pretty clearly had, like... yeah, there's no way to, like, Harm's Way face or anything. Make it weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if this ends up being winnable. Espithel definitely had a lot of decisions to make with those 3 Chattering Pets start the game.
Yeah.
As well as the Fairy Infiltration. But Ben drawing pretty darn well. 8 spells, 3 lands, basically perfect ratio.
Yep. It seems like the finals will be 2 black-red decks. Except they're 2 very different black-red decks.
Yeah, looks like we're going to have a lot of dependence on, or a lot to play around. Profane MSA. That's a big card in the finals with how much damage its burn deck can put out.
Yeah. Actually, how many GPs in a row has a burn/prowess deck made it to the finals?
3.
Okay.
Rather, more particularly, it's been 3 GPs where burn/prowess has even gotten the top seed and made it to the finals.
I mean, Burn is the sort of deck that can easily just spike wins.
Yeah, I think like as much as like being top seed and making it to finals might seem like different conditions. I think practically for Burn, a lot of times they're the same.
Right.
Just because you get so much value from being on the play in Burn.
Yeah. But anyways, I guess we'll just end it here and see you guys in the finals.